Hi family, today's devotional I'm calling Character Refinement, and the focus is out of James 1, 2 through 4. And I get to share my favorite book called To Be God's Leader by Henry Blackaby. And it reads, many of the character traits that run deepest are those that are driven in the hardest. Hard times imprint themselves into a person's character. Trials either leave a scar of bitterness and cynicism, or they forge strength, humility, and compassion. The difference is wholly dependent upon how people respond to their life situations, and more importantly, how they respond to God in the midst of those circumstances. While no one but masochists look for opportunities to suffer, people who truly desire to be Christ-like in every part of their lives will welcome whatever instrument God uses to make them so. It was James who urged believers, consider it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you encounter various trials, knowing the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. James 1, 2 through 4. So I like the stark contrast Blackaby uses to illustrate what trials can leave us with. The way the world tells us produces bitterness and cynicism. The way Jesus tells us, that produces humility, strength, and compassion. This provides me with checkpoints as I endure various trials in my own life. At any given moment, I can stop and do a heart evaluation. If I find myself bitter or cynical, I know it's time to adjust course. Stop, take a moment and pray, and give the issue at hand back to the Lord to resolve and walk me through the issue however God knows that I need. And any associated emotions. Sometimes my emotions feel like guilt, shame, condemnation, slander, or unworthiness, and I take it to the obedience of Christ. 1 Corinthians 10:5. With that being said, I do well with visualizations. So as I'm praying something to the obedience of Christ, the issue or trial and any associated emotions, good or bad, they become a visual box, specifically a present. And then I visualize what Jesus' feet look like. Sometimes he's wearing gladiator sandals. Other times he's barefoot. And then I gratefully place my present of troubles and cares at his feet. First, because he's best at doing the heavy lifting. And secondly, because the battle wasn't mine to fight. Back to why I like the stark contrast. I like these outcomes I see these outcomes at two extreme ends of a spectrum. And as I decide to respond the way Jesus tells me, the world and people watching, they're mind blown. This creates curiosity and thus opportunities to share my current situation and how partnering with Christ is different, and how it's freeing versus the way I used to respond. For me, I find extreme joy when I get to tell someone the way God originally wired us to operate, how my old ways of reacting used to create additional burdens that I wasn't crafted to take on. And now that I'm responding and doing things the way God has, trials feel lighter, I feel peace, and even gratitude in the midst of a situation. And as I meditate on this process, I can conclude for myself that I get double joy. I receive joy when I share my testimony, and second, I'm simultaneously being perfected in the process. Sure, trials are awful. I'll initially feel afraid, vulnerable, uncomfortable, and sometimes deeply hurt. But on the bright side, when I choose the way Jesus leads me, this results in a burden, stronghold, false idol, or weight being lifted or chipped away, or better yet, completely crushed. So for me, I never pray and ask for trials to come, but I do confidently pray for God's will and his way to lead my life. Because I know firsthand I can trust the Father heart of God, and I know he desires nothing less than perfection for me, and he cares that deeply. Dear family, hang in there. Let God perfect us all. Let's respond by choosing